Welcome back, movie fans! Today, we're diving into the emotional, hilarious, and unforgettable world of Steel Magnolias. Behind the big hair, southern charm, and tear-jerking moments lies a treasure trove of strange stories and surprising secrets. Get ready, because we're about to uncover 10 weird facts you probably never knew about this 1989 classic.
Steel Magnolias wasn't about comfort, it was about survival. Not with weapons, not with wins, with jokes sharp enough to keep you standing, love strong enough to break you anyway. But behind the warm light, the big hair, the beauty shop rhythm, this story was soaked in grief. A casting search that almost chose the wrong heartbeat. A scene so brutal it made Sally Field undeniable, then changed what came next. A story that wasn't inspired by tragedy, it was written inside it. These are 10 weird facts about Steel Magnolias, where the jokes are survival and the love is sharp enough to cut. Number 1. Shelby in Steel Magnolias does not feel like a role. She feels like a heartbeat. The kind of young woman who makes a room brighter just by walking through it. Which is why the loss hits like a trapdoor. You do not mourn a character. You mourn a person you believed in. That version was almost erased before cameras rolled. Winona Ryder was seriously in the mix. The producers liked her. The idea sounded modern, but the math did not work. She would have been only 16, and Shelby cannot read like a kid playing Wedding Day. Shelby has to look like she is already standing on the edge of adulthood, smiling while the ground quietly shifts under her. Then Meg Ryan circled the role, and for a moment it looked locked. Until she dropped out to take When Harry Met Sally. One exit, one schedule change, and suddenly the movie is exposed again, scrambling for the one face that can sell warmth without turning it into fluff. Other names floated, including Laura Dern, but the casting director kept pushing for one more audition. Julia Roberts, still riding the early wave of her career, filming Mystic Pizza. And this is where the process stops feeling like Hollywood and starts feeling like grief. When Julia Roberts walked in, writer Robert Harling did not weigh options. He recognized something. He later described it as instant, a flash that cut straight past the business. He recognized something personal in her, a presence that cut straight past casting and into memory. Not a perfect copy, not a trick, just that same light that makes everyone else lean closer without realizing they are doing it. Roberts smiled, the room lifted, and Harling knew Shelby could finally live on screen the way she lived in his memory. That is why the casting feels eerie in hindsight. The character was born from a real loss, and the actress did not just fit the part. She unlocked the person behind it. And the last twist is cruel. Shelby is written to make you fall in love first. That is the whole mechanism. Brightness, laughter, a wedding dress, a future everyone wants to believe in. Then the story takes it away. So Steel Magnolias did not find its Shelby through a perfect plan. It found her through a chain of almosts. A too young Winona, a Meg Ryan exit, one more audition. Then Julia Roberts walked in, and Harling saw his sister standing there again. Number 2. Annelle did not walk into Steel Magnolias by being glamorous. She got in by disappearing. Daryl Hannah wanted the part so badly she showed up to audition almost unrecognizable, intentionally burying the version of herself people expected to see. Annelle was not the kind of role Hannah was known for, and she treated that as the whole point. Herbert Ross later called it a real departure for her, and he said she actively chased it, convincing him and producer Ray Stark she could handle it. That audition was not a reading, it was a dare. Let me do something you do not think I can do. At the same time, Julia Roberts was fighting a different battle. Ross had a reputation for being tough, but the cast remembered the pressure landing hardest on her. Sally Field said he gave her freedom, but was very hard on Julia, and that the rest of them would rally around Roberts because she was the baby, and Ross just kept picking at her. Not a note here and there, a steady grind that makes you question every take. So the Salon sisterhood stopped being just the movie's vibe. It turned into protection. Field remembers Dolly Parton snapping back at Ross with the kind of filthy, fearless humor that cuts the tension and gives the youngest person in the room air again. Hannah remembered Ross being tough on Roberts too, framing it as him pushing her to make sure she was up to the challenge. Either way, the result was the same. Roberts stayed close to Field, almost in a bubble, because a real mother-daughter bond was forming while the director kept tightening the screws. That is the behind-the-scenes mirror. Hannah had to erase herself to be believed. Roberts had to endure being singled out to earn her place. And the warmth you feel in that salon is not just acting. It is a circle closing ranks while the pressure keeps coming. Number 3. Steel Magnolias did not just cast a love interest for Shelby. It put Julia Roberts in a setup where her real life could get rearranged. One co-star already in her world, another one about to step into the frame and change the temperature. When Steel Magnolias started filming, Julia Roberts was dating Liam Neeson. Her co-star co-star from Satisfaction. Then she was paired with Dylan McDermott, and the heat they sell on camera was described as real enough to spill off set. Roberts ended things with Neeson and began dating McDermott instead. Like the movie's romance did not stop when the scene ended. And it did not stay casual. Roberts and McDermott became a serious couple, even getting engaged. For a moment, it looked like the kind of set romance that turns into a permanent headline. Then it broke. The engagement fell apart, and the relationship ended in 1990. So when Shelby's love story glows on screen, remember what that glow cost. You are watching a real relationship ignite in front of the camera, race toward forever, and end almost as soon as the world decided it believed in it. Number 4. Steel Magnolias is set in a beauty shop, but the story hits like a stage where nobody can hide. And the second it reached New York, the people who had seen everything started reacting like they had just found something sharp. Elizabeth Taylor went to the off-Broadway run and raved about it. Not a polite theater night, a real endorsement, the kind that flips a play into a must-see. Then Bette Davis saw it and made it personal. She did not send flowers. She did not wait for a casting office to call. She went straight at writer Robert Harling and started campaigning for one role, Weezer, like she was already sitting in that chair. It was not admiration, it was acclaim. Davis wanted to walk into that salon and bite down on those lines herself, but she did not stop with her own part. In her head, the movie was already forming, and she started naming queens for the other seats. Katharine Hepburn as Clary, Elizabeth Taylor as Truvy. Not maybe. Not if schedules work. She was building a whole court in that little room. Legends trading smiles like knives and jokes like warnings. That version never happened. Weezer went to Shirley MacLaine. The cast became its own kind of lightning. But Davis making the call tells you what Steel Magnolias really is. A small room that made giants lean in, pick a chair, and fight to be allowed inside. Number 5. Steel Magnolias looks like an ensemble. A crowded room, big names, big personalities. But when awards season arrived, the Academy acted like it could only see one flame. Julia Roberts got the film's only Oscar nomination, Best Supporting Actress for Shelby. She did not win, losing to Brenda Fricker for My Left Foot, but the nomination still landed like a stamp. Not promising, not next time, this time. The industry was admitting what the audience already felt. When Shelby smiles, the movie lifts. When Shelby fades, the whole room collapses. And the timing makes it even sharper. This was not Roberts' victory lap. It was the first warning shot. 2 more nominations would come later, and 11 years after Steel Magnolias, she finally won in 2001 for Erin Brockovich. But this is where the door opened. A serious drama, real grief, and a young star proving she could make heartbreak feel physical. Meanwhile, the film took a criticism that sounds like a flaw until you remember what the story is. People said the men were thin. The husbands, boyfriends, doctors, they hover at the edges. They react. They enter and exit while the women do the emotional labor in the center. That was not a mistake. That was the blueprint. In Robert Harling's original stage play, the men are talked about constantly, but no male characters appear on stage at all. Not once. The world is built entirely out of women in a room, holding each other up while life keeps swinging. So when the film adds men and still keeps them secondary, it is not failing to write them. It is refusing to hand them the spine. That is why the Oscars ended up matching the movie's truth. 1 nomination, 1 woman. A story where the men can be loved, but the women do the surviving. Number 6. Sally Field did not join Steel Magnolias for the cute hair talk or the big cast glow. She joined for one moment she could feel coming like weather. The funeral. That scene is not a speech. It is a rupture. Malin does not cry politely. She detonates. Grief, rage, disbelief, love, all in one breath, in front of everyone. And the only reason she survives it is the circle around her. The women do not step back. They do not let her collapse alone. They stay close until the pain twists into laughter, not as a joke, as a life raft. Then the set turned strange after hours. In Nakitosh, the cast would unwind together at night, playing games, talking, letting the salon energy follow them off camera. One night, writer Robert Harling asked a simple question. If you could play any role, what would you be? Field did not pause. She said she was tired of always playing noble, earnest women in crummy clothes. For once, she wanted to play a bitch who gets to wear nice clothes. That line did not vanish into the night. It stuck. Harling grabbed it like a seed and carried it into his next idea, and a new movie grew out of the wish, Soap Dish. In 1991, Field got exactly what she asked for, an aging soap star with sharp instincts and sharper intentions, waging war in full lipstick and attitude. So Steel Magnolias did 2 things to her at once. It gave her the greatest grief scene of her life. Then, it gave her an escape hatch. One film made her break in a cemetery. The next let her walk in dressed to kill. Number 7. Steel Magnolias keeps getting shoved into a small small box with a lazy label. Chick flick, ladies' night, a safe tearjerker men can skip. Shirley MacLaine heard that and refused to let it stand. She said flat out that calling it a women's film was not correct. Then she made it a challenge. If you have women in your life, take them to see it. And when you go home, you will understand them more. Not because the movie explains anything, because it shows the way women actually love each other when nobody is performing. Close range, no polish, tender 1 minute, brutal the next, and still loyal enough to stay in the room. She felt that truth while they were shooting it. During one of those blazing hot Christmas festival days, MacLaine turned to writer Robert Harling and told him the film was important. Not cute, not fun, important. Years later, reflecting on the movie's long life, she said she knew why. The friendships were not delicate, they were complicated. Women being honest and cruel in the same breath, then turning around and being hilarious, sarcastic, and protective anyway. That is why the movie keeps landing. It does not sell a fantasy of perfect friends. It shows the kind who can cut you, then catch you, then make you laugh while your face is still wet. So call it a chick flick if you want. MacLaine's point is simpler. Watch it with the women you love. Then try walking out unchanged. Number 8. Steel Magnolias feels too grounded to be faked. The streets look lived in. The porches look like they have heard real secrets. The heartbreak lands harder because the town looks like a place where life is supposed to stay gentle. That was not luck. Robert Harling pushed for it. He grew up in Nacogdoches, Louisiana, and he fought to shoot the film there, planting the story back into the place that shaped it. And the town never shook the movie off. The Nacogdoches Convention and Tourism Bureau's former executive director, Arlene Gould, has said that outside the area, Nacogdoches became synonymous with Steel Magnolias, and that the film had a tremendous impact on tourism and the community. The clearest proof is not a statue or a plaque. It is a house people can walk into. Malin's home, the emotional center of the story, was filmed at the Cook-Taylor House, a historic property built in the 1840s. During production, it was not a public attraction. It was a family's real residence. And for the movie to move through it, that family reportedly relocated to an apartment, stepping out of their own home so the cameras could turn their walls into a place the whole country would recognize. Then, the location refused to stay a location. In 2003, the property became a bed and breakfast and was renamed the Steel Magnolia House. Rooms were named after characters like Claire, Weezer, and Enel, turning dialogue into door signs. Around town, visitors can take tours or do self-guided trips to key filming spots, following the same path the characters once took. Most movies leave you with scenes. This one left you with an address, a porch you can stand on, a doorknob you can turn, and a room named for someone you thought only existed on screen. Number 9. Steel Magnolias was built to leave a bruise, not to reset itself next week. But the industry kept treating that salon like a faucet. Turn it on, bottle the feeling, sell it again. Hollywood did not agree. It saw a salon set, a rotating parade of customers, and an engine that could run forever if you kept feeding it new heartbreak. So the first attempt came fast. In August 1990, CBS aired a Steel Magnolias TV pilot, built to turn that beauty shop into a weekly rhythm. Same premise, same warmth, a different promise. It did not stick. The pilot aired, then vanished. No season, no second swing. Like the story hit the edge of the format and stopped. Then the idea came back with sharper intent. In 2012, Lifetime remade Steel Magnolias as a television movie with a major cast, including Queen Latifah, Felicia Rashad, Alfre Woodard, Jill Scott, Adepero Oduye, and Condola Rashad. And this time, the audience showed up. Big. It became Lifetime's third most watched original telecast of all time, a clean signal that the premise still had power when you aimed it at a new generation. But the afterlife has a sting. Robert Harling, who wrote the original out of real grief, was not a fan of the remake. So Steel Magnolias ended up with a TV history that fits it too well. The industry kept trying to turn pain into a weekly machine. One version finally hit, and the man who built the story still did not feel at home inside it. Number 10. It is easy to mistake Steel Magnolias for a movie that manipulates you. It makes you laugh until your guard drops. Then it takes what matters most and does not give it back. That is not clever writing. That is a wound being handled in public. It was not designed. It was survived. Robert Harling did not sit down and invent Shelby. He wrote down his sister. Susan Harling died in 1985 from complications related to diabetes, and he took what was left, grief, anger, love, helplessness, and poured it into a play because staying silent was worse. Shelby is not a character inspired by. Shelby is a name placed on a real absence, and he did not write it carefully. He wrote it like a rupture. Harling finished the play in 10 days, not a long crafting process, a sprint that feels like the only way you can move when you are trying not to collapse. He even admitted he was not sure it looked like a real play when he handed it over. He just knew it carried Susan's spirit on the page, and that was the only standard that mattered. Then the story hit the world and kept moving like it had its own heartbeat. The stage version opened off-Broadway on March 28, 1987 at the WPA Theater in New York City, caught fire immediately, and ran 1,126 performances before closing on February 25, 1990. That is not hype. That is people recognizing something too close to real life to ignore. When the film came, Herbert Ross fought to keep that reality in the room. For the hospital scenes, he brought in the actual doctors and nurses who cared for Susan in her final days, not performers pretending they know what loss looks like. The real people who lived it. The nurse who turns off Shelby's life support in the movie had done the same thing in real life for Susan. That is not research. That is a memory replayed with cameras rolling. And Susan's fingerprint is everywhere, even in the comedy. Harling said that when he hit writer's block, he used one brutal question as a compass. What would Susan do? And the answer was always the same. She would do something outrageous, something inappropriate, something that breaks the tension so the room can breathe again. That instinct built the funeral moment that never lets go. Malin is drowning, and Claire throws a lifeline that looks like a joke. Here, hit this. Grief gets redirected into motion. The women do not fix the pain. They keep her from dying inside it. That is the engine of Steel Magnolias. Grief refuses to stay polite, so it disguises itself as laughter long enough for everyone to survive the next minute. A sister became Shelby. 10 days became a script. Real nurses reenacted the worst moment. And the jokes are not decoration. They are the only oxygen in the room. That's the quiet cruelty of Steel Magnolias. It lets you laugh like nothing is wrong. Then it shifts, gently, and shows you what love costs when the bill finally comes due. If this one still lives with you, take a moment to like and subscribe. It helps us keep telling stories that don't fade when the credits roll. And if you want to keep it close, you can grab it through the link below, because this is an
And that wraps up 10 weird and fascinating facts about Steel Magnolias, 1989. If you enjoyed this behind-the-scenes dive, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment which movie you want me to cover next. Thanks for watching, and remember, laughter through tears is one of the best emotions.